So whether the election or election money was apparently an illegal financing of campaign or not, that remains to be seen, but it is definitely one of the main pillars to ensure that it is a free and fair election, to ensure that it is a level playing field. However, I don't think any of us here believe that there is a level playing field. The answer is no. It's not a level playing field. And I think to even talk more about level playing field here, we have the MP for Shah Alam, YB Khalid Samad, who will be talking about perhaps more on how this 2.6 billion and the politics of it. The politics of it. I think it is not so much on the political financing, but perhaps on the motive and the hidden agenda behind it, perhaps something which we can hear more from a seasoned politician such as YB Khalid Samad.
I'm a bit surprised how the chairman can, how do you say, know what I'm supposed to be saying. So I haven't decided yet. I was just listening to all the speeches, and I think Yang Berhormat Wang Chen of Kelana Jaya has really put it all in a nutshell as far as the MPs are concerned. Yeah, in particular opposition MPs. We are supposed to get a grant of $1 million a year. Yeah? Sorry, I mean during election times they get the BN MPs get 2 million. Yeah, but on average, what we are made to understand is that the BN MPs get $1 million a year to carry out their programs. Yeah, and that's the one that's why in the budget, if you see the budget for the Prime Minister's department is very large. Yeah, and it's there's no real control on how he spends it, right? So what we understand is that the BN MPs get $1 million a year in the areas where we are the MP, so the opposition MP. Then the Ketua Bahagian, UMNO, gets access to the funds. It's controlled by the Jabatan Pembangunan Persekutuan, the Federal Development Department. It's not given out into the personal account. But anything you want to do, you write in, you get a quotation or something like that where you need expenses for your office or you want to do small projects for your constituency. You get approval and they will pay for that expenditure. Yeah, but we don't get anything, right? I have to be very frank. We do get assistance from the Selangor state government. Okay. The Selangor state governments give the PR MPs a total of about 350,000 a year. 50,000 is for office expenses, so you don't really have that much to spend. 50,000 a year is about 4,000, slightly more a month. You're paying for office rental, you're paying for staff, you're paying for utilities and so on and so forth, and obviously it's not going to be enough. My personal EPF account has depleted somewhat, yeah, because ever since I became an MP, it hasn't increased, it's depleted, because once you're an MP you have to spend, because you've got to have, like what Wang Chen was saying, right? So we have to have an office, we have to have staff and this sort of thing. I was quite surprised actually. I attended one program where there were people from southern Thailand. You know, it was from a Muslim political party, and they said that they actually received political funding from the government in the form of grants. Yeah? So every party, based on the number of members that they have, will get a budget. You know, and that's in Thailand. Yeah? And this is something which we are obviously hoping that there will be something similar in Malaysia, but definitely it's not going to happen under this government. They don't recognize the opposition parliamentarians as being people who have any rights, you know, in terms of besides our salaries, which they can't do anything about. But as far as the expenses or grants, political funding, and all that, we can't really hope for anything. So actually, as far as the question of institutional change and so on and so forth, I'm all for it. But in the final analysis, we just have to admit, if the government of the day is not really and truly democratic, it doesn't respect the people, it doesn't believe that the people have a right to choose their own government, and therefore be willing to lose elections, right? If they're not Democrat at heart, then they will obviously misuse their position to make sure they stay in power, right? So to a large extent, there must be a form of an ideological commitment of those who are politicians and who are in power, that they really want to get a government which is chosen by the people based on clear and accurate information, and they really believe that the people have the right and they should abide by the people's decision, right? So that's not in Malaysia lah. So obviously even in the West there is some attempts to cover up and so on and so forth, but the culture that's been so well entrenched, the democratic culture and the belief that the individual rakyat has the right and the politicians do not have a right to misuse their position in order to maintain themselves in power. I mean that's an accepted norm within Western society, right? In democratic societies. And if anybody's discovered that he has cheated or he has misappropriated public funds, even though it may be $5,000 as recently in a case involving an Australian politician, I mean he would be forced to resign, right? But in Malaysia, you can do anything, because there'll be so many reasons and excuses, as what Saudara Said was saying, 16 different explanations as to where or why there is 2.6 billion in your personal account, right? So and the general public, I mean, very unfortunately for us, many of our voters are still quite a large number are in the rural areas. They're still very dependent on the media, TV3, especially the housewives who stay in the kampongs. The TV3 will be on from morning till night, and whatever information that they get, that's it lah. So it's very difficult to bring about change, and that is where we, whether we like it or not, we have to get down on the streets and create the social consciousness and the understanding within the society that the government is elected by us, and they should be accountable to the rakyat, right? So that's why Bersih 4, as far as we're concerned, 1, 2, 3 and 4, we're in full support, and what we want is a situation where you have a government that really respects the rakyat and acknowledges that the rakyat have the right to appoint, to hire and fire the government, right? And no how do you say, silly excuses like it's the Jews or the Singaporeans are taking over the country or the Chinese are taking over the country and all this sort of thing So this is what we want, but it's not easy to break the current situation, right? I mean, 2.6 billion question, as far as I'm concerned, since there's no political funding officially, so it's corruption. So unless you can say that there is a rang undang-undang, there is a law which stipulates that the Prime Minister can get 2.6 billion every 10 years or something like that, right? Then he can get it from the government, or something like as a form of a grant or something. If there isn't, so it is not political funding in a form of a legitimate grant that's gone into, obviously it shouldn't go into his personal account, but it's gone into his personal account. So as far as I'm concerned, and I think as far as many Malaysians are concerned, it's clearly a case of misuse of power. It's clearly a case of corruption. And just for your information, the amount, the staggering amount of 2.6 billion. I heard somebody talking. He says if you spend 5,000 ringgits a day, it lasts you a day. 5,000 ringgits a day, it lasts you for 1,400 years. Yeah, 2.6 billion. If you spend 5,000 a day, it will last you 1,400 years. Yeah. So for the Muslims, I mean that's from the time of the Prophet until today. You spend 5,000 ringgits a day, it's 2.6 billion. I mean, it's staggering. I mean, the amount is so big, it's so colossal. You just can't imagine how that kind of money can go into a personal account, and the Prime Minister can be, very relaxed about it, and there's no sense of guilt, no conscience, no nothing. And especially at a time when our country is facing a very serious economic crisis. We were told that our national reserves has gone down by about 40 billion US dollars, because the Bank Negara had to spend money in trying to create an artificial demand for the ringgit, so that the value of the ringgit doesn't fall even further. So actually you're not buying anything, So you spend 40 billion USD, just to try to manipulate the market, create an artificial demand such that the ringgit doesn't fall even further, right? Then coupled, okay, now you've got your national reserves down, then you've got the question of the national debt, which is increasing. Until today, people are saying, okay lah, 600 billion, you take into the contingency liabilities and all that, it's gone up to maybe about 700 over 800 billion, So, I mean, and then now you got a situation where your main source of funds, your main national revenue, oil and gas, is at such a low price that Shell has even decided to close some of their fields. Because for the Malaysian oil fields, it's now mainly offshore, and it's no longer, at the the coastal area. It's further offshore, and the cost of production is almost 50 US dollar per barrel. So if the international market price is 50 US dollar per barrel or slightly more, I mean, with all your expenses and all the risk and all the, all the effort, it's just not worth your time. So in the end, you've got a situation which is, I mean, is serious, probably so serious, that we cannot understand how the Prime Minister can, just happily take money and put inside his private account and do as he likes, at a time when the national economy is in such a state of crisis. So this is our problem. I'm sorry I deviated a bit. So what we want obviously is it must be structured. There must be control. Grants are given. It goes into the party's accounts. Then it's specified what the state government does for us in Selangor. It tells you you've got 50,000, which is for your office expenses. Anything more than that you spend on your own. You've got 150,000, which is for helping the people, the poor who come and ask for assistance and so on and so forth. And you got another 200 or another 150, which is meant for small projects and programs with the public. So when we hold Majlis Hari Raya, we spend about I combine with Rosia and Yaakob. They come up with they get a bigger grant because that's the state adons. They get more than the MPs, because actually the MPs technically should not get, because you're not supposed to get from the state government. Yeah? But the state government, because realizing that we're not getting anything, they even offered to the BN MPs. Yeah? But the BN MPs, they were so, how do you say, embarrassed by the offer. Originally they wanted to accept, then after that I think they were told off by the their boss, and they rejected lah, so they didn't want to. So we have that kind of funding. At the same time, we do get some contributions, and as you know, PAS, I'm still in PAS, even though I'm wearing orange. Until the new party is formed, right? So PAS still uses the what they say is the 10 Milo, asking for the contribution every ceramah. Last night, not bad. We had one in Shah Alam, but it was not for PAS. It was for Harapan Baru, and we collected about more than 7,000 ringgits from the public as a contribution for the party. So that's how we've been surviving. Fortunately now, we have social media. So in my last election, I did not spend as much because the cost for posters and so on and so forth is not as high. As far as publicity and getting the message through is concerned, then we use the blogs and the internet and and so on and so forth. And of course we hold PCs and all that sort of thing. So we do manage to get some part of our message across. But Barisan Nasional spends a lot more, and the reason why they spend a lot more is because they give a lot of contributions after having received contributions, right? So when they receive the 2.6 billion donation, then they go around donating to the public in order to get the votes, right? So even though it may not be stated explicitly, but everyone understands lah, the candidate comes down, shake hands, and there's an ampao, 300 ringgits, 500 ringgits, depending on the person, right? And that's why there's such a big expenditure during elections. Yeah, of course, the public are happy. Some of them, you have by-elections, then there's projects, there's money, there's ampaus, but it's all not supposed to happen, right? So this is where, in the final analysis, the question of right and wrong, the question of ideological commitment and belief, that the government should be formed, based on the choice of the rakyat, without any form of inducements, without any form of coercion, without any form of propaganda, fear. That's not Malaysia lah. Malaysia is all that lah. The fear of racial riots, the inducements, everything is being used, but we are still a democracy lah. Somehow. Somehow or other. Okay, so I think I'll end there, and I thank you all very much.